David's logging on.
Jerry is muted.
Yep, it's
Are you ready,
recording.
Jerry?
Yes.
Is ready?
Mhm.
Good afternoon. Today is April 25th. We have a special meeting to review those precinct and polling places. Kevin will go. Kevin, you go ahead and start from top and then come down. The polling places we can review, and if it's necessary, we can vote on them today.
Sure. And are we going to start with public comment, Madam President?
Yes, we will. So we have a public comment. What's the name?
So we have Aneshel Miller, who would like to address the board.
Miss Miller.
Aneshel Miller.
You see her?
Aneshel Miller, if you're on, please raise your hand.
I don't see that.
Okay, do we have no one who's, they're not on. So maybe we'll take them up again later on.
Yeah,
Choose.
if she comes a little bit later, I will let her talk. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, well, I know David wants to be involved in this. So let's hold on just a minute. Let's have him log on, because I want to explain the process of what we're going to do, and then we'll go from there. And he said he was trying to log on, and I don't know if he was having a problem with his computer or not.
Alan can help him. Janet is ready. Yes, he has trouble.
Yeah, so I was trying to call and see if that's him, and Jerry needs to.
I think David would definitely let someone know.
Well, I was just on the phone with him. He said he was logging on.
I'm testing the links and making sure. Now the link on our website works.
I used the link in the email that you sent us and that came in fine.
Yes, did with me too.
Yep. I use the link in the email to join here, and I just used the link on our website to try to join, and it was letting me in. So
Tell him to do a restart on his computer. That often will fix whatever's the matter.
Therefore, since we're waiting for him, he should not talk at all today.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, he's used up his talk time.
Use it or lose it.
He'd always start on his phone and then switch over to his computer while it's booting up.
I mean, I know there have been times when I've used the correct link and it just has not worked for whatever out there ether reason is.
Yes.
He's logging on. He didn't have the,
He had the link, he couldn't find the
he
link.
couldn't find it.
She emailed everything. Watching.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
There he is.
There he is. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late. My technical difficulties.
Welcome.
That's fine, David. The board decided that you shouldn't talk today because you
I know that that's how you voted, Nahid. I don't know about everybody else, but I know that's how you voted.
So, okay,
you
let's
can
go.
talk, but let's go. Kevin is going to go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, and Janet, please chime in and Chris as as I go through this, but I thought the most efficient way to do this would be to go right through our worksheet and find out whether the board has any questions regarding particular recommendations. If not, the board can vote to approve those, because May 3rd is really the last day to go ahead and input all of the data into MD voters, and it's a labor-intensive process too. So to the extent we can get some of the approvals, hopefully most of the approvals done today, then we would only need to follow up on a few items later on in the week. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
let's start with 0101A, which has 2,101 voters that would be voting at Laytonsville Elementary School. Are there any questions, issues, or concerns about that polling place?
I have a question, which is, I see that for 1-7, we have 202 voters that are moving from 1-1 to 1-7. And I wanted to understand and we have a polling place in 1-7 that has a total of 664 voters. So, and I believe they're all in the same district. They're all in Congressional 8, Legislative 14, Council 7, and Board of Education 1.
Okay. Janet, what's the reason for moving those voters into 0107?
Let me get the map.
Maybe distance.
Are they not contiguous?
Yes, we were trying to fix that problem.
And
So it's, remember, 010
and why do we have a polling
Yeah.
place with 660?
Okay,
voters?
David, let's Janet's talking. Go ahead, Janet.
need to share this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so we moved these voters right here in 0101, this part that was non-contiguous, into 0107 because the lines changed and we could add it into 0107. So we were trying to fix this portion here to make it a contiguous precinct. And 0107 only ever had 462 voters in it, and they voted at Damascus Library.
This was a problem that was created in redistricting 10 years ago that we can now solve.
Right, but we're also, I mean, I just want to make sure I understand, because it seems like sometimes there are questions as to why we have a polling place when there's very few voters. And we're having a polling place, in this case, for 660 voters. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't object as long as we are consistent about this for smaller precincts in other parts of the county as well.
Okay, so why don't we start, so we started off with 0101A. Is there any issue with Laytonsville Elementary School?
No, I have a general question about the A's and B's. At some point, will the numbers be fixed so that there are no A's or B's, or will they stay A and B?
No, they will be fixed. Right now, that was just so you could understand the maps and what we were dividing.
Okay, thank you.
Once you decide, they will go to 0101B will disappear. It'll just be 0107, period.
Okay. So is there any issue with 0101A, Laytonsville Elementary School?
Raise your hand if it's an issue, otherwise,
Or
And
object?
I'll just remind for anybody who's watching, if there's anybody watching, that the A and the B is all explained when you go back to the redistricting worksheet master list from the board's meeting on March 7th.
okay,
That's where everything was divided into A and B and listed out.
thank you.
Okay,
So Kevin, we can vote on this one, right?
right.
is there a need to vote on each one, or can we just go through the list and do them all together?
Let's go through the list and see which ones. I really think you all should be able to agree on almost all of these. So let's segment out the ones that actually additional research is needed on. I gather that no further research is needed on 0101, Laytonsville Elementary School.
Kevin, may I make a comment?
Sure.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Mr. Naaman brought up that we had the two precincts divided, the 2100 and the 664. We can bring those two precincts together, but we'd still be adding another 300 in, which would make that polling place out 3,100 rather than 2,100. Or shall we separate?
I'm sorry, Chris, I'm having trouble with the math here. I see 2,100 that are in 11A, and I see 664 that are in 17 plus, that includes 11B.
Yeah.
Where, and you said there's 300 more?
I know we're taking these in order, but if you go to 1206, the new precinct, you all didn't want us to send it to 1203. The only other option is 0101. That's the only one that it touches, that is adjacent to, and that's another 300 million.
Okay, and then remind me, because 1203 is not on this list, how many, like, what was the reasoning on not wanting to move it to 1203?
It's too many voters.
How many?
We'll have to pull. Do you have any?
I think, yes.
This is the oldest.
Yeah, this.
It should be this. This is the-
And while you're looking for that, Chris, I'll tell you my perspective, and others may have a different one. My perspective is that for now, at least, I would keep the smaller precincts that have been working well, and only consider changes if there's a reason to change. But I would do that everywhere, not just in Damascus.
Okay, Janet went to get some more data to add to this conversation. She'll be right back.
Thank you, Chris.
And then go back.
No, Kevin, can we go to the next one, and then when Janet comes, or Janet is coming, Janet is here.
Yeah, let's take them in order here so that we don't get disorganized here.
When we get back to 1206, I'll have the number for 1206.
Okay, then say it.
Stop sharing. So you move on.
Okay. She's said what you.
Ms. Ross is asking that we move on, because when we
Yeah.
review 1203, then she'll have the numbers.
Okay, how about hearing no objection on 0101, let's move on to 0105. The Agricultural History Farm Park, 2,209 voters. Any questions, concerns, comments regarding that polling place?
I have a question which gets to 0108, which says I think we're adding 800 voters to the Agricultural History Farm Park. So I've never seen that room. 3,000 voters is probably okay, but can someone give us just a general sense of whether the room can handle it?
Yes, these voters were actually at 0108, were actually at 0105. The legislative fine went through it and divided the precinct. So we're
Got
just leaving them where they are.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
a different legislative district. It's 14, not 19, right?
Right, two ballot styles.
Two different ballot styles at the same location.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what's making it consolidated.
Right.
Right.
Okay, any other questions on 0105? Okay, hearing none. 0107, Damascus Library. This is a small precinct, but it's always been a small precinct, 664 voters. Any questions about Damascus Library?
And we're actually going to move into the senior center. The senior center has an all-purpose room in it that will allow for more voters.
Is the
Because,
senior center
like-
within the precinct?
Yeah,
yeah,
yes,
No,
no,
it's not within.
it's not within the precinct.
The library and the senior center are next to each other. Is that the idea?
They're one building.
The one
Oh.
building,
And they
So we
moved
just,
outside.
so we just move into a different room in the same building.
correct,
right?
to accommodate a larger number.
The larger number being 664 because before it had 462.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any question? Okay, Kevin, go
Okay,
ahead.
0101B is Laytonsville Elementary School, and those voters are being moved to 0107.
Yes,
Okay. The next is 0108, which is a new precinct, which is going to be consolidated at the Agricultural History Farm Park. Obviously, there will be two different ballot styles. I assume we are having them vote in two different rooms, or how are we handling the consolidation part of it?
No, they will vote in the same room. The poll book will tell us which ballot to give them.
Okay. Any questions on 0108?
no question. All right, go
Oh,
on.
0206B, Haley Wells, which will now have 3,754 voters in 2-06. Any questions regarding that polling place?
Where did the A portion go?
A portion is 212, the new precinct.
Okay, thank you. So Hallie Wells has fewer voters than it used to.
Yeah, it used to have close to 5,000 something. Yeah, like
Wow.
5,300.
Okay, so it's actually it's becoming smaller in terms of the number of voters.
Right, the legislative line split this precinct.
Any questions on 0206 Haley Wells?
And Hallie Wells is a middle school, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
No question.
Next is 0207 John Baker Middle School. 1,296 voters that are being moved to, is that 0208? They're being moved into that precinct?
No, it looked like they'd be moved from that precinct.
They're being moved from, excuse me, they're being moved from 0208 into 0207. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Any
another, that's another legislative split.
Okay. Any questions on 0207, John T. Baker Middle School?
No question.
Okay. Next is 0208, Clarksburg High School. And that is what basically is going to be the new 0208A, correct? It's going to have 4,997 voters.
Oh, I see how it works.
Yeah. That's the other section that's left.
Okay.
So, so Clarksburg High School used to have over 5,000 voters, and now it has just under 5,000 voters. Is that right?
Yes,
We moved 1,200 of them to Baker.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other Any other questions on 0208?
No question.
02-10, Little Bennett Elementary School, 2,527 voters. They were moved from 0209 into that precinct. This is a redistricting change, or how, what's,
It doesn't look like it. It looks like they're in the same district.
No, it wasn't a change. We were trying to eliminate that little precinct, 0209. If we could absorb it into something else.
It's
So
another one of those problems that was created 10 years ago, I believe.
Well, when you call it a problem, is it a problem because it's small, or is it a problem for some other reason?
Other reason?
Because it's small.
well, it only had 586 voters, correct?
Right. I'm just trying to understand what our standards are. Okay, when is a precinct too small? Because we have one with 664. That's more than 586, but not a lot more. We have a number of precincts that are less than 1,000. I am not suggesting that we get rid of them all, but I'm just trying to understand, why is it that we don't want to have Lois Rockwell with 586, but we do want to have Damascus Library with 664?
Because we had nowhere else to move Damascus Library.
Excuse me?
I think if I may, Madam Chair and Madam President and Kevin, I understand the thrust of the questioning, and I would very much like to have uniformity across the county in how we handle these things. The challenges are just the nature of the map, the nature of the facilities and the precincts and what we have to work with. I'm actually just trying to pull it up right now and see if this was in fact a precinct that we needed to carve out of something 10 years ago. I think it was. So I believe it's not just a matter of the size, it's a matter of the size and the circumstances that we had that forced us into creating a small precinct where we didn't need one 10 years ago. And now we're in a position to be able to correct that problem. It's just what we have to work with that varies so much around the county.
I'm sorry, Allison, but I don't agree with what you just said. We have the ability with Damascus Library to move those 664 voters into Laytonsville Elementary School. That was said earlier in this meeting. I am not advocating that, okay? I'm just trying to understand why it is that in that instance, we would keep a 664 person precinct, but for Lois Rockwell, we are not keeping a 586 person precinct. Is our boundary line 600 voters? Is there some other reason? Because it's not a function of what happened 10 years ago. It can't be, okay? The question is, are we trying to have more polling places, fewer polling places? Do we have any criteria that we are using for this? What is the difference between these two situations?
Well, David, Damascus Library had 462 voters. Combining Laytonsville Elementary is another 202, which gets you to 664. And if you combine Little Bennett with Rockwell, that increases that to 2,527.
No, you're missing that 11A is in Laytonsville Elementary School is 2101.
Yeah.
So if you were to, and I am not advocating this. I'm trying to understand the principles behind our decisions. But if you were to add Damascus Library to Laytonsville Elementary School, you get 2765. That's the total number of voters. And if you add Lois Rockwell to Little Bennett, you get 2527. That to me is not a significant difference between them. So all I'm asking is, why are we doing away with Lois Rockwell? What is the difference between them? And I should say, I know very little about either of these neighborhoods. Okay, I don't know how they vote. I don't know anything else other than what I'm looking at on this sheet. But what I'm seeing on this sheet is that sometimes we think that an area is too small and sometimes we don't. And I can't figure out what our criteria for that are. Now, I know, for example, when we get down to the 4s and we talk about Shady Grove Conference Center, we had issues at Shady Grove Conference Center and there's parking problems, and okay, I get that. But I want to understand, what our principle is for why we're, in these two cases, why the difference in how we're treating them.
Janet and Chris, I'll need to defer to you on the specific differences on these two.
The 586 was always a consolidated precinct, a standalone precinct. So if
I'm sorry, which one are we talking about now?
0209, it's always been a consolidated precinct. It's consolidated at Lois P. Rockwell with 1202, maybe? It's another precinct there.
So in this case, we have the election district line that we can't cross.
Right. But we did it because I'm trying to find, it was 1204.
All right, so does Lois, so Lois Rockwell has additional voters other than what we're seeing in this particular precinct, is what you're saying?
Yes, it's 2,489 at 1204.
Okay.
Plus 86. And it was always a different ballot style. That was why it was his own separate precinct. But now we can merge it because the lines move. We can make it one ballot style by putting it in 210
Okay.
and eliminate multiple ballot styles.
And what you're saying is that, I mean, when you say you're retiring precinct 29, Lois Rockwell is still a polling place for a different precinct.
Yes, 1204.
Okay. And so the 586 is not the sum totals of the voters.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, David. Okay.
Okay,
Any other question? Go ahead.
so are we at 0208 Clarksburg High School?
0208. There.
What was the decision?
We were on to,
We're on
we were on
210.
209 Rockwell Elementary.
Well, 210.
Well, 210, I think Janet just explained what's going on. 0209 is being retired as a precinct, but we're still having voting going on there. It's just under the different precinct number.
Yeah.
Right. I'm good.
Okay.
So we
I
can
think
go
what
on.
David, wasn't your concern that basically when you look at this, you wouldn't know that Lois Rockwell Elementary School was still going to be used as a polling place?
Exactly. My concern was that we were eliminating it as a polling place for reasons that in other places we might not be doing the same thing. But that's not what's happening here because it's being continued to be used in another precinct. And
Yes.
that answers my question.
Okay, thank you very much.
So how about 0208 Clarksburg High School, 4,997 voters.
We did that one.
We did that one,
Good.
Kevin.
Okay. New precinct,
02.
Snowden Farm.
Any questions?
Which one is this?
Snowden Farm, 212.
212.
212.
Well, and now is Snowden Farm Elementary School in 212?
They're switched, 0206 and 0212, the polling locations are switched.
Okay.
We didn't feel Snowden Farm Elementary School could handle the Haley Wells population.
Okay. So you got,
So it's adjacent.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Any question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map of 206. I try to pull up 212, I get the map of 206. I see Snowden Farm Elementary School. Where is 212 on that map?
No, that's, I think 206A is 212,
It is,
isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got it now.
Okay, move
Thanks.
on.
Okay. So the next is 0407 Twin Brook Elementary School, and it looks like this was one of those weird little carve outs from 10 years ago.
right, they all had their own ballot styles and now we can put them back together.
Can you just explain, there are two precincts that are associated with Twin Brook Elementary School at 47, but then Twin Brook Elementary School is mentioned again for 427. Are they all being put in the same precinct, and are they all voting at the same place?
No, 427, and I think 440, no, 427 and maybe 437. Two of these precincts actually voted at Twin Brook Recreation Center, but we were uninvited to use that location again. So 427, it was Twin Brook Elementary School, but if you read over in the notes, we're gonna move the voters to Meadow Elementary School because it's about the same distance and there's less voters there.
No, Meadow Hall Elementary School is across Veers Mill Road.
Okay,
Where are these voters? The voters are off of Twin Brook Parkway between Veers Mill and Fisher's Lane, right?
let me find them out. So I think I pulled it up. No, I didn't. We moved it Friday because you questioned it. Why we were sending them to Twin Brook and the only other place we had was Meadow Hall.
No, on Friday, I said I couldn't read the map, is what I said on Friday. I couldn't tell where 427 was. I don't recall you're telling us that the community center wasn't available on Friday, but
Yes, Chris told you Friday.
okay, but I certainly did not say move it across Veers Mill Road.
No, we didn't. You were questioning why we were sending so many to Twin Brook. But we said,
Yes, I was, but that doesn't mean that I want you to then move people further away from where they live. It's a question of balancing the different equities, because Meadow Hall, I don't believe is even on the map that you're showing us. Okay, there it is. So
that's where 443 voted anyway, and 443 is right here.
I'm sorry, I can't see 443 on the map that you're showing us now.
It's because it's so tiny. Let me show you. This little yellow space right here, that's 443.
That's all of 443?
All of 443. This little yellow.
So you're saying between those like intersecting lines there?
Black, the blue and the red.
There's 0 voters there?
No, there were 27 voters there. That was the apartment complex. That now
27.
in here. I mean, we can send them to Twin Brook. It's
No, look, what I would want to know, and this may be one to hang on to for what the options are, but I'd like to know what the options are, because asking voters, especially voters in apartments, to cross Veers Mill Road and walk to Meadow Hall, which is further away. I mean, I don't know if you can give us an address that's within 427, but the gist of it is that we'd be asking them to take a much more difficult walk to get to the polls if they were walking, versus how much capacity is there at Twin Brook Elementary? I mean, that's the question, and whether there are any other alternatives. Because to me, Meadow Hall is pretty far from and across Veers Mill Road, which is that's a very I'm sure you're familiar with that intersection, and it's only gotten
Dangerous.
more complicated over the years.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you the total. If we move them to Twin Brook is 34,900, almost 3,500 voters at the elementary.
So where do the voters vote? Who, what precinct is it when you cross Veers Mill Road and you're in the Twin Brook neighborhood on the north or east side of Veers Mill Road? Is that 4-9? Is that what that says?
Yes, right here.
And does it vote at Meadow Hall?
Yes, 409 votes at Meadow Hall.
And what is, it looks like there's like a 4-1 there. Where is 4-1?
401, I think that's Rockville. Is that Rockville High School?
Okay.
Yeah, Rockville High School.
And how many voters are in? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble because of the all the different precincts that intersect there. How many voters are in 427?
427, with adding the 443 is 576.
So you're saying that if we were to add 576, you're adding to a precinct that has 2921.
Yes,
But we're also, it looks like we are retiring 430. Now 437 already voted at Twin Brook Elementary.
yes.
And what about Rocking Horse Road Center in 440? Where is that?
Internal.
Not for you.
It's for, I looked at it Saturday and for some reason I did not. 426. I don't think it.
That's far though.
Yeah, why is that voting at Twin Brook?
No, I'm trying to find 426. No,
426 looks like it's at the bottom of your screen right now.
Oh, yeah.
South of Randolph.
It's a different makeup.
Mhm.
We can't combine 440 with 426. It's a different makeup. We were trying to get rid of the ballot stuff.
The what?
The different ballot style, they all have now have the same ballot style, but
Yes,
Rochester
but
doesn't.
you're also talking about 153 voters who are pretty far away from Twin Brook going to Twin Brook, and then you're talking about the voters who live closer to Twin Brook than they do crossing Veers Mill Road. So I would suggest that this one be put in the hold category and that we continue down the list, but I definitely have concerns about this. I'd like to know more before I vote to I'm very uncomfortable with telling people they have to cross Veers Mill Road. I also am not familiar with how large the facility is at Twin Brook Elementary and what other options there are, if there are any.
So that would be to look at what options are for 0407, 0437, and 0440.
Where is it? Well, but it's also, hang on a second.
It's
I was gonna
also,
Is it the proposed lines that we need to put on hold, or is it the voting location? Is it the polling place?
As far as I'm concerned, there's no difference.
Okay,
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to vote for a precinct that is going to overload a polling place. And if we don't know a polling place, essentially we are leaving that possibility open, and I'm still responsible for that. Not to mention that the state law requires that we provide polling places and precinct boundaries at the same time. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference. But I would like to know what is happening with the voters that are from Rocking Horse that were, that's a pretty significant move for them to go to Twin Brook. Are there other alternatives for those voters? I'd like to hear what the alternatives are for 427. And so yes, it's 47, 437, 440, 427, and 443
Excuse me,
that are,
David,
that,
David, you say your responsibility. What is your responsibility?
my responsibility as a board member is to try to make voting as convenient as possible for all the eligible voters. And this plan is making it inconvenient for two different groups of voters. The ones who live on one side of Twin Brook Parkway, north of Randolph Road, who are being told to go across Veers Mill Road to go further away than the place that's closer to them, and the ones who live south of Randolph Road, who are being told to go to Twin Brook Elementary, which is far away from them as well. So I wanted to see, just like we did in Damascus, I'd like to see if we can find ways for people to vote closer to where they live.
Janet and Chris are revisiting these places.
So, and it would be 0407, 0437, 0440, 427, and 443, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know what else votes at Rocking Horse Road, because that's kind of part of the question as well. I don't know if the 440 voters could be, there's only 153 of them. Could they stay at Rocking Horse Road? I know that we were told that Rocking Horse Road is not one of our larger precincts when we were talking about the District 18 proposal, but that would potentially be in the mix as well.
And I just want to add that the one familiarity I have is with Veers Mill, and I would prefer not to see voters have to cross that road.
Thank you, Diane.
Okay, well, that one will require some additional research. So let's go to 0408, which is Garrett Park Elementary School. 4,287 voters.
Oh, Alan has his hand up.
Okay, you recall that Al Carr proposed that, we can pull it up here. You combine Parkside and Garrett Park Elementary School and into 408 and create a new precinct, was it 445 in the northern part of what was 408. Al Carr reports that Parkside has no place really to wait inside. People voting must stand outside before entering into this clubhouse. I don't know if the board's had any complaints about that from voters voting in the rain. In one of our meetings, Michael Tardif suggested that we look into one of the high rises that was up off of Boo. I've got it on the screen here. It's at 5750 Boo Avenue near the Supergiant. It's a high rise there. There's retail space there. He said it's been vacant for about 3 years. And when Michael Tardif mentioned that in the chat box at one of the meetings we had, maybe it was the first or the second one, staff said that they will look into that. Has anybody looked into that place, that retail space as a possibility? I know you ruled out the men's shelter, and I agree that's not a good place. And the JCC is too far. But what about that vacant space? Like the space which had Fuddruckers, they should be happy to have someone renting for a day, which has been vacant for 3 years.
We can certainly look into it and see what the retail space would be. But what could we consider moving them to Tilden for at least this cycle, Tilden Middle School, and then I believe that there will be another school available in that area for 2024, that they could be a standalone precinct in that new school.
Can I be heard on that?
Yes, David?
Chris, I don't know if you were at the meeting where we discussed that previously. Tilden Middle School, having moved from the old Georgetown Road location where there's now construction into the neighborhood on Tilden Lane, is a very long distance from that northern portion of that precinct. And I think it's too far. My own reaction, and I know we discussed this on Friday, and I don't know whether Alan and I agree on this. We may very well not agree on this. My own reaction was that I suggested the conference center as a possibility. I understand that the conference center may be quite expensive, and I'm not sure that I would be in favor of a huge expense if we don't have any complaining voters. I might be inclined, like you said, Chris, on Friday, to leave things the way they are, and come back to this in 2 years when hopefully we'll have more options for places for these precincts to go. One of the weaknesses of the District 18 proposal since it was made was that they never had a solution for the northern part of that precinct. And I don't want to attempt to fix the problem at the Parkside area and create a problem somewhere else. So my own view is that if the conference center were available at a reasonable price, I would consider it. And otherwise, I believe you already told us that you checked with the Jewish Community Center and you didn't think that that the room at that location would be able to handle the additional voters. I think Tilden is too far. Anyway, that's where I'm coming from.
I agree that the Bender JCC, Bender Jewish Community Center, the room is too tight, as well as the parking is limited there. I have been in communication this morning with Montgomery County Conference Center. He asked me, I had tried to contact him Friday and wasn't able to get through. He responded to me this morning. He asked me how much space I needed, and I told him I was hoping for anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. He looked into it and he told me for that week that we're looking at, he didn't have anything he could give us. And David,
Okay.
for information on the cost, last time when we used the conference center, it was $5,300 for us to have it for Monday afternoon, all day Tuesday, and a morning pickup on Wednesday of the equipment. So
Wow.
that was $5,300. And I do believe Marriott did try to look and see if they had something to help us out the middle of July, but he told me that he's full. He really has a lot going on in that week.
Well, Chris, I very much appreciate that you've tried a number of different options here, and that you've looked into them. My inclination at the moment is like what yours was on Friday, which is that this particular change can wait. My own view is that I wouldn't combine those precincts and put them all at Garrett Park. I think that would be, I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but a very large number of
big.
voters.
I think it was over 4,000. It's close to 6,000, Janet says.
Right. So my inclination, I mean, I appreciate very much that all the effort that's been made. We've considered it thoroughly, but I don't think I would make that change under the circumstances.
So just so it's clear for purposes of the record, David, what are you proposing? Using Garrett Park Elementary School and Parkside?
Right, I'm proposing moving Garrett Park and Parkside into the list of precincts that are going to be operating the same way they did before.
Does anyone have an objection to that?
Alan, you want to talk?
Not an objection per se. My view is if you can get a cheap place within what would be new 405, go for it. If you can't get it easily, then the status quo is fine.
Alan, I think we're at the 11th hour here. I don't, the question is, do we think that it's worth an effort? I guess it has to be made in the next 2 days. Is that right? I mean,
Yes.
if we can find something in the next 2 days, great. But that seems like a tall order, given all the time
Yeah.
that's already been spent on it.
Right, it's impossible.
Yeah, I'd leave it alone. I'd either
Yeah.
I'd go with the change.
Even if we were to find a location, then we still have to negotiate a lease and how much we're going to pay and everything else. We just don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, let's leave it alone.
Okay.
Leave it alone, as in leave it as it was before, not
Yeah.
off of the change list.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree.
Okay, then.
Okay. The next is O-04-24 Lakewood Elementary School. This is moving voters from 0435 into that precinct. And I guess as part of that is to retire 0435, which is the Shady Grove Conference Center, which
Yeah,
has presented challenges before.
okay.
Any
All right,
comments
then.
about that change?
I don't see any hand. Okay, then, let's go
now,
on.
Alan, your hand is still
Oh,
up. Do you mean
I'll
it to
pull
be?
down. Sorry.
Okay.
No hand, no hand. Thank you. Okay, Kevin.
Next is 0427 Twin Brook Elementary School.
We're missing that one. We're lumping that.
Right.
Oh, I'm
that's-
sorry. That's
yep.
part of this group of 04. That's part of that whole group there. Okay. Which also is 443 falls in that category.
0504B.
Is
No, we still have 423. Or
423 needs to be addressed.
Right.
Getting rid of that. Getting rid of that number and renaming Cold Spring Elementary School 0423.
You guys hear that?
No.
No.
Speak up. Janice, can you? It said here, move voter into 0423, retire 0429.
This would be moving voters back to where they were originally in past history. They were at Potomac United Methodist as a consolidated, but because of the redistricting, they now have a jurisdictional makeup that matches what they were originally at Cold Spring. We moved them back to Cold Spring because of the jurisdictional makeup, rather than have it consolidated at the church.
Okay. Any questions about that move to Cold Spring Elementary School?
Is the church still a polling place for somewhere else?
Yes, it is. It's 1001, I believe. I can look.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to get to get a sense of that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next is 0504 Riderwood Village. And that's moving voters from 512B into the precinct.
Yes, and that's a redistricting change. The line cut a portion of 0504 off. Oh no, 0512 off, and it is now in the 0504 precinct.
Okay. Any questions about that change on 0504?
I
moving
don't see
voters.
any hand. I don't see any hand. Move on.
0512 Galway Elementary School. And that's moving voters from 0504 into 0512.
Right, it's the same thing, where the line cut, it moves some from 0504 into 12, some from 12 into 4.
Okay, any questions about that?
No,
Okay, next is 0505 Springbrook High School. And that's moving voters from 0506, so I guess, which is White Oak Middle School, into Springbrook High School. Is that a redistricting change as well, Janet?
no, this was, we were trying to clean up the lines because they were crossing major highways. Portions of each precinct we tried to get them all into their own precinct. I can pull the map up. I can remember that one.
Right, there's a group map.
Yes.
Elise, are you okay with this change?
For,
There's a group of precincts, 0505, 0506,
mhm,
0510, 0513, and 0524. That are all in the White Oak area.
yeah,
And I think the idea was to try and make the precincts
Not
more,
cross.
not cross major roadways to the extent possible.
right. No, and I'm for that.
Okay, thank you.
The map.
All right. No questions.
We need to see the map if everybody's okay with.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
What's our
I-
next one here?
056, 0510, and 055, they're all part of that one map. That was,
Yeah, they're all part of that one change. And I
Right.
think it sounds like the board's in favor of that. It makes it so people aren't having to cross over major highways. So is the next one 0513 White Oak Community Recreation Center?
Kevin, may I mention something before we go forward?
Sure.
I'm trying at this point to get all of the polling places in line. And a lot of our communications with the school system are creating issues. So on our list here today, it mentions White Oak Middle School, but White Oak Middle School will be unavailable during the July 19th primary election because of it's actually asbestos abatement. That's too.
Ah,
So we can't use the school, but my recommendation is, since we can't use White Oak in July, that we just go around the corner. They share campuses. Jackson Road Elementary School and White Oak Middle School share a campus. It's just like going around the corner to go to Jackson Road. We would vote in the primary at Jackson Road Elementary.
Oh. Do we know anything about the size of the room at Jackson Road Elementary?
We have voted there for many years, but when the White Oak Community Center opened up, we chose to use White Oak Elementary School, but it can accommodate us for the primary.
but you also then proposing to have a different polling place for the primary and the general. One for, one for the primary, one for the general.
That would be her decision as the board. If you would like to stay at the elementary, the schools are just right, almost.
Oh, no, I know where they're located and they are right next to each other. It's just a question of voter confusion because generally, as you know, we don't move from the primary to the general.
Sometimes we do.
Very rarely, as you know.
but again, that's the board's call. That's not our.
We
Um,
don't use Jackson Elementary School as a polling place?
And no longer, we haven't for probably 2 cycles now.
Huh, okay.
Well, Elise is my local expert in that area, but my gut reaction is that I'd want to hear from the public a little bit about the question of
Oh, I see.
whether we stay in one place or whether we move. And I realize we don't have a lot of time for that.
Right.
But I'm just concerned. I mean, this is the first time I've heard that White Oak Middle School is not available.
Well, we've been trying to work with MCPS. They're putting together a list for us. And that was one that just came up last week because of the asbestos abatement.
Are they aware of our deadline? Like you've certainly made us aware? Because I'd be happy to talk with school board members if that will help. Because obviously we need to know these things before the meeting where we're supposed to approve everything. And I realize that in this case, you know, not your fault, but if they're not telling you.
They're not doing it.
I know.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there any reason why the board can't agree to use Jackson Elementary School for the primary and then at a later date make a decision on the general?
I don't have a problem.
I'm okay with that.
So what does
Chris,
the,
about how
what does
many
the,
people
what does
voted?
the, I'm sorry.
About how many people voted at Jackson Road when it was a polling place?
Well, how long ago was it a polling place?
2 cycles.
It may be even longer than that. I would have to check, and then I would have to go back and tell you how many voted at Jackson Road originally.
When we send voter notices to voters about their polling place changing, do we normally, what does it normally say in terms of how long the change is? Does it just say it's changed and then we send them another change when it changes back? Or does it tell them it's for X, you know, it's for this election, not that election or anything like that?
It just says, this is your polling place. And then when we send another one, if we change it, it says, this is your polling place. It doesn't give a designated time.
No, it's not confusing.
I mean, I have to say, I always look at where my place is. In the past, excuse me, I've received notices of your polling places, boom, and I always make sure to check it. I mean, that just seems common sense.
A lot of people don't, Diane. I can tell you from
But
experience, a lot of people don't.
Okay, but if we're hamstrung, I mean.
They go where they went before.
Right, no, I get it, but we do have a lot of pressures, and at some point, you know, the voters got some responsibility to figure it out. I mean, seriously, if we send a notice, I don't think it's unreasonable. There are many places they can check, including our website, right? I mean, I appreciate all the argument.
If they have internet access, then that is correct. But not everyone does, and White Oak is not a wealthy community.
Can I ask you,
Madam President, we have Janet Ross who'd like to.
Yes,
share a
Janet, go
comment.
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
This redistricting thing, we're concerned about precinct boundaries. We got to treat precinct boundaries and polling places separate for what we need on May 3rd. We have until the middle of May to say where they're going to vote. What we need down is, what is the boundary of the precinct? Where they vote is not relevant to what we need by May 3rd. We just need to say, we're creating new precincts, we're combining precincts. Where they're going to vote, we can figure that out. But this is what we need by May 3rd, or we're going to be delaying our ballots.
Right.
This is the makeup of the ballots. That's what we need. What each precinct's makeup is. Where the
Well-
polling place is doesn't affect it.
Then that gives us more time and we can.
Not
make-
really.
Well, we've got until May, what was that again, Janet?
Middle of May to figure out where the polling place is.
So
Before
we
we,
don't have to do that today. We can
we
vote
need,
on what we have to.
Don't have that much time.
we need the boundaries. We don't need the polling place. We will need the polling place before we send out the voter notification cards. We have to have it before that finalized, before we send out the voter notification cards. We're not sending out cards, we're just trying to create ballots right now. And so we need the precinct makeup and the lines that make up that precinct. Because we won't even change the voter street level until the end of May and send out the voter notification cards.
So, but Janet, 0506 is gonna have to move to Jackson Road Elementary School no matter what for the primary, correct?
Yes, and the boundary's not changing. So the boundary staying, well, we did change it a little bit. I'm sorry. We did change it. But where the voting is not important to us right now.
Well, except that 0506 has 4,055 voters. And what other places are we putting 4,000 voters into an elementary school?
I'm not.
Because usually we don't do that. And you're saying it doesn't matter about the polling place, but I'm telling you that to me, it does matter about the polling place because I don't know that I want to create a 4,000 person precinct if we don't have a place where they can vote that can handle the number of people that will come. Now, admittedly, a gubernatorial primary, there are going to be fewer voters than in another election. But that's still, where else in the county do we have 4,000 voter precincts voting at elementary schools? There are not many.
That's not what I said. I said to the process we're doing now, it's not important. Yes, it's important where they vote, but to the process that we get done by May 3rd, it's not important. We need to get the precinct boundaries and MD voters. That's all we need.
No, I know, I understand what you need, Janet. What I need to vote for a 4,000 person precinct is to be comfortable that there is a place that can house them. When it was White Oak Middle School, I was comfortable with that. Now that it's not White Oak Middle School, I want to understand better before we move boundaries and add more people into that precinct. Because, you know, I don't think I've ever been inside Jackson Road Elementary School, despite the fact that I've driven past it a million times in my lifetime.
Mr. Naaman,
Actually, we took 20 people out of White Oak with our boundary change. We took them out of White Oak. We didn't add anything to White Oak. We took 20 people out of White Oak.
You still have 4,000 people going
know
to an
that.
elementary school.
I know that part. I'm just saying, we didn't add anything. We took it out.
Mr. Naaman, this is Chris. May I suggest that I have conversation with MCPS? Now we're talking about asbestos abatement. Possibly I can ask for a reschedule. Can you allow me that through Thursday?
That would be awesome. But when you say a reschedule, meaning that they will do that after the election?
Either before or after.
Yeah, but before can raise dust. So after would be far preferable. We would want to understand exactly what their plans are before we would agree to go in there after they, you know, or close in time to when they're doing asbestos abatement.
I'll find out the details. I think we could make some arrangement where it would be safe for the voters. I don't think MCPS would want to have anybody exposed to improper
Agreed.
air.
Well, yeah, and we don't want our staff sitting there for 12 hours.
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
Exactly.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
So the next is 0510, Crest Haven Elementary School. Looks like we're moving 15 voters from Springbrook High School into 0510. Does anyone have any questions about that?
No question. Okay, go on. Go on, Kevin.
And White Oak Community Recreation Center, we're adding 275 voters from Springbrook High School. Well, looks like 275 from 0505, and then another 83 for 4,228 voters for 0513. Any questions, comments, or concerns about that?
Do we know what the square footage is of the room at the White Oak Community Center? Because I know we're not using the gym.
White Oak Community
You're
Center.
using the auxiliary gym, right?
I believe we're using the social hall.
Social hall.
So
Yeah, it's a social hall.
for election day.
I'll let you all go forward and I'll look up the square footage for the
Okay.
social hall at White Oak.
I mean, again, that's a lot. 4,228 is a lot.
Yes.
So let's move on, but let's go back to 0513.
I'll note also in this area, and I don't know if Chris or Janet, while you're pulling any of that information together, if you've got the early voting or absentee request data at hand, but certainly this is one of those areas that's in close proximity to an early voting site, and that affects the number of people who vote on election day too.
Thank you. That's a good point.
0515, it looks like we're moving 30 voters from Burtonsville Elementary School into Cloverly Elementary School. Any questions or comments about that?
No, move on.
0517 is Fairland School Center, 3,695 voters.
No question.
Any questions about that one?
No, go on.
Next is 0518, 1,754 voters at Burtonsville Elementary School. Any questions about that one?
No question. Move on.
Okay. 0519, we're moving 13 voters from 0517 from Fairland School Center into Benjamin Banneker Middle School for a total of 3,388 voters. Any questions about that?
No question. Go on.
Okay, 0424 is going to be a ghost. As I recall it, this is a potential, there are no voters in this area, but isn't there the potential for voters at some point?
Yes, so it's a placeholder in case voters ever move into the FDA area.
Okay. 0603, 2,512 voters at Ridgeview Middle School. Any questions about 0603?
No question. Go ahead.
0613, 1,892 voters voting at Quinch Orchard Library.
No
Any
question.
questions? No questions about 0613?
No.
Okay. 0617 has got 99 voters, and that's got to be a consolidated polling place at Ridgeview Middle School. Any questions about that one?
So
No.
the 2512 reflects the 99 moving from 0617 to 0603?
No. They're standalone precincts, so
Oh,
Yeah,
they'll be in the same location consolidated, but they're standalone precincts.
because different ballot styles for precinct-based voting. Janet?
Right.
Okay. 0701, 1,638 voters, Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. It's moving voters from 0709 into that precinct. Any questions about 0701?
Did you skip 618?
Yeah, we're going back to 618.
Oh, 618. Excuse me. 5 voters are going to be voting at Quince Orchard Library as a consolidated precinct. Any questions about 0618?
No
Is there
question.
anyone else voting at Quince Orchard Library?
13.
613.
Oh, yes, I see. Okay,
Good enough.
Yeah, 1,892.
okay.
0701, 1,638 voters at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School.
are there other voters at BCC besides this precinct?
Yes, 0701 and 708, I think.
807.
0708, 3,780. They've
Yeah.
always been consolidated.
I thought that in Bethesda Chevy Chase in the past, we've sometimes had more than one room. Am I remembering that right? Or do
Yeah,
we know what the plans are?
That's correct. We had 2 polling places in there and we divided them. We had a consolidated situation in the cafeteria, and then we had a third precinct in the gym, in one of the gymnasiums.
That was
And-
because we had to move out of somewhere, if I remember correctly, right, Chris?
We were making a temporary move for the gymnasium, the use of.
Okay, so we don't have to decide at the moment what we're doing for BCC for election day, or do we already know? Are we doing one room? Because it sounds like we have about 4,000, maybe more.
We,
Um,
the last couple of elections, 0701 and 0708 have been consolidated in one room,
in one room, just different ballot styles.
just different ballot size.
Correct. They've been doing that now for several cycles.
Okay. And it's been working out?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
all right. No
Next
question.
is 0709 Lynbrook School Center, 2,634 voters. Any questions about that one?
No question, go on.
Okay. 0802, 77 voters are going to be moved from.
Kevin, before you go to 0802, would you please explain for the record, since it's on our website, what happened to 0710 and 0731?
Oh, okay. So there was discussion of closing or not using the promenade and moving those voters to St. Jane de Chantal. That was a staff recommendation. There was a number of individuals wrote the board urging that the promenade be used, and so the promenade will be used as a polling place, and they will not be moved to St. Jane de Chantal for the election cycle.
Good.
Thank you. And I'd just like to add that Alex Vincent was kind enough to show me around St. Jane de Chantal yesterday. And I had a chance to meet Father Geis as well. And I'm very impressed by its use as a polling place, and also was still very concerned about the possibility of putting more people into it. And I'm glad that we've reached the resolution that we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Kevin, go on.
So are we at 0709? We've covered Lynbrook School Center, correct?
Yes,
Here, 0802.
0802A.
802, so we're moving 77 voters from Sherwood Elementary School at 0807 into 0802. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about that change?
No question, go on.
Okay. Laytonsville, 0805, we're moving 33 voters from 0814 at Laytonsville Elementary School. 0805 is 0814 is being retired as a precinct, and those 33 voters are going to vote at Belmont Elementary School for a total of 2,750 voters. Any questions about that change?
No question.
Okay. 0806A is Sherwood High School. There are going to be 928 voters added from 0807. So they're being moved into 0806 for a total of 4,023 voters at a high school, Sherwood High School. Any questions about that proposed change?
David, your hand is up.
Don't mean for it to be.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
That's
So then in 0807, there'll be 1,572 voters voting at Sherwood Elementary School.
No,
No.
Ross Body
They'll
Recreation
be
Center.
moved, excuse me, they're going to be moved to the Ross Body Recreation Center. Was this a board recommendation?
Remember that.
I don't remember who made
I
the
don't believe so.
Okay.
This was staff recommendation. When we were looking in the eights, as was explained earlier, we were trying to make the boundaries more conducive and balanced. And so we decided, in order to create this new map, in election district 8, we would move some of the voters down to Ross Body. We haven't used Ross Body as a polling place before.
So where is 87A on the map? Because I'm having a hard time kind of understanding.
The upper part of that
It's the
area.
upper part.
The upper part of,
Top
oh, I
part.
see, way up top. And they're voting at Ross Body because of the number of voters? I mean, there's nothing closer for them?
No, they used to vote at Sherwood Elementary School, which is way down here.
Ross Body's closer.
I'm sorry, when you say way down here, I don't know where here is.
Okay, let me share my screen. I keep forgetting. They voted at Sherwood Elementary School.
Can you make the picture a little smaller so we can see more?
Mhm.
Thank you.
So 807 area, and they voted here.
So who is voting at Belmont and Longwood?
Longwood is going to be 802, which is, we took part of 807 and put it into 802, and they're going to Longwood. Belmont is 805, is this one. 816 Greenwood. We divided 802 in half because there was a lot of voters there. We made a new, they're going to stay at Greenwood. 811, boundaries went back where they were. 818 is the new precinct we divided. 811, we showed you Friday, we divided in half, and they're going to vote at Sherwood Elementary School. So we moved 802 to Longwood and moved 818 to Sherwood.
So it does seem like the voters who are voting at Ross Body are traveling a longer distance. How many voters were that? Are those?
1,572.
How many
And how-
voters at Longwood?
No, I gotta find them. Longwood is 1,965.
Oh, I see.
And where are they voting, in the gym at Longwood, or are they voting in another room?
In the social hall,
Hmm. So it's really not necessarily enough space to do both.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. It just seems like it's a bit of a hike. And then the voters who are in 8-6, where are they voting? They're voting at Sherwood High School?
Yeah, they voted Sherwood High School. 8-6 is all of this area.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, go
So-
on.
The next one is 0810, which is adding voters from 08, 06, and 08, 15. 1,293 voters from 08, 06 Sherwood High School, and then 08, 15 Magruder High School, and they'll be voting at 08, 10 for a total of 4,146 voters.
A lot.
Seems like a lot for a middle school.
Chris, how old's this middle school? Is this one of our newer middle schools?
it's new. It's probably, this would be the second cycle that we've used it. I've been out there. It is on a big campus. It has lots of parking. It is a large cafeteria. The cafeterias now are actually even roomier than they were originally. They're not a confined room. With the new concepts in education, it's more of a social area. So it is a wide open space in these cafeterias.
Okay,
Do we have any other middle schools where we're over 4,000?
Yes. I think it was,
Like White Oak Middle School.
yeah, White Oak,
Yeah, except that it's not available.
we got a problem there.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Wow, okay.
So that one is being pushed into an elementary school. Potentially.
Hmm.
All right. I mean, I don't know what the options are. You know, I'm very uncomfortable with a 4,000, more than 4,000 voters in the middle school. And this is mostly, I mean, this is mostly done by us, right? I understand we have voters who used to go to Magruder, which was further away, that we're now not having them do that. And then we're trying to make it so that Sherwood High School is not overwhelming either. It's already got 4,000 voters. I guess my
Right.
question is Farquhar better able to handle the 1,300 voters that are being moved from Sherwood High School than Sherwood would be as a high school?
It's a lot of voters.
It's a lot of voters either way. It's either 5,000 plus in a high school or 4,000 plus in a middle school.
Yeah. It's bad.
Chris, didn't you say the new cafeteria at that middle school is similar to what you get in high school, or am I completely wrong on that?
It is similar, yes. The only drawback that I would say, and we mitigate this statement that I'm going to tell you right now by taking care of ADA issues. I think the walk from the front door to the cafeteria is a long walk, but it's a big school. The
At
way
which,
we did it
at which one? At Sherwood or Farquhar?
at Farquhar. But we mitigate any long walk within the building by setting up rest areas along the route. So if we have someone who is tired before they can get to the polls, we have rest areas, and it's posted, chairs are set out. It's an obvious location where people can sit in the corridor if they can't make the distance.
So now it sounds like we have both a large number of voters and a very long path to get there.
Not very long, but it's long enough that I feel that someone that is tires easily needs a rest.
So I'll ask my question again. Is there a benefit? I don't know where 86A is, which I think is the territory we're talking about, that we're moving from Sherwood High School to Farquhar Middle School. Or maybe, no, maybe it's 86B. But I guess my question is, should they be moved? Are they better off in the middle school or the high school? Or again, is that something to ask the community as to what they would prefer? Because both of these buildings are buildings that are in their community. It just seems like, you know, we're ending up with very large numbers in both of those places.
The board would need to give us a recommendation on what they feel comfortable about. If you feel that the numbers are better accommodated at Sherwood High School, then let us know and we can make some line adjustment.
Well, I haven't seen either room. So I guess my question for you, Chris, is where do you think they're best accommodated?
Right.
I don't think that bad choice. I've been out to the school.
I'm sorry, there was interference when you were talking. You said you don't.
I don't think that it's an inappropriate choice, but if you're asking me to weigh in, I always weigh towards the high schools because of the space. I feel the space we should take advantage of the space where we have it.
So when you say you lean towards the high schools, you're saying that perhaps we should consider taking the
No,
I guess I'm trying to understand, are you suggesting that the Sherwood High School voters that are currently at Farquhar, the 1293, could be moved to Sherwood High School?
I really have to consider the lines better. From what I'm looking at, we tried to make, as I said earlier, this wasn't a necessary change, actually. We were trying to make a better balance. If
Right.
the board feels that the voters are better accommodated at the high school, that I
Never
think it
chose.
could
So what,
happen.
so what are the boundaries of 86B?
It's right here, this green area on your screen.
And where is Sherwood High School and where is Farquhar Middle School?
Farquhar is here, Sherwood is over here.
I think we keep it the way it's just presented.
Well,
Within the
with 4,000 voters in a middle school.
Janet, if you flip down to the other map, I think it shows pretty well
Hmm.
the locations. There we are. And then you also see the,
You don't see the 806B, that's what I was trying,
Right.
showing.
I was looking
the
for the
locations.
806B because it looks
Yeah.
like if you could go back to the other map.
Yeah,
So, what you're saying is that the 806B, that Farquhar is in the 806B.
Correct, it's in precinct.
Okay, but, and Sherwood is outside of it, but, I mean, it just seems like, well, it's a tough call.
I mean, if the size of the locations is comparable, as Chris said, wouldn't it be preferable to keep it within the area? In other words, go for vicinity rather than, I mean, give a little bit on size. I mean, if I were a voter, I think I'd prefer
Yeah.
having it closer if there's not an appreciable difference, excuse me, in facility.
I guess I agree with you, Diane. I guess the question is how big is the difference? Because if I heard Chris correctly, she was saying that in general, she would opt towards the high school as the facility. And I agree that I'm always an advocate for being in precinct when we can be. So it's kind of a, it's a tough call.
as she
So-
said,
Why
this
don't we-
voters are not-
Why don't we do this? Chris, why don't you take a look at Farquhar Middle School? Because some of these middle schools are huge.
yes,
So, if that school can accommodate these 1,293 voters that voted at Sherwood High School, it's more convenient for them. But why don't you
Right.
put on your list to make sure that you feel comfortable that's the case? But if that's the case, if it's a new middle school, they're big. Some of them are really big.
All right, I will take a look. I'll put together some pictures and some square footage and see if that helps with the decision.
right.
I think being in precinct, it's convenient to the voters, and the school is large.
If you're comfortable with that, I mean, I'll get over my discomfort. Because I agree that being in precinct is a benefit. I'm just,
Yeah.
there's a large number of voters for a middle school, but I'm okay with it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Naaman.
It's comfortable.
Okay. So 0816 is a new precinct, Greenwood Elementary. 2,260 voters. Any questions about that?
Where did they come from?
802, we divided it in half because it was like 3,000 voters going to that elementary school.
Any questions on 0816?
No question, go on.
Okay, 0817 that's going to be a consolidated precinct. We've got 23 people that are obviously voting a different ballot style.
Hmm.
Any questions about 0817?
Hmm.
Sorry, Kevin, I just want to make sure. 802A says Greenwood Elementary School, 1,900 voters. And then we have Greenwood Elementary School with 2,260. Does that include the 1965? Or is that a total now of 30, or, 4,000 or whatever that the two added together is?
802
Yeah,
is the one that's going to Longwood. They started at Greenwood, but this precinct used to go all the way down to 816. We split it in half. 802A is going to Longwood now. It's in the notes.
So what you're saying is that where it says Greenwood under the polling place, it's actually now the recommendation is Longwood.
Right. And
Okay.
and I was debating whether to put those in parentheses beside the old name so you would see it.
Yeah.
So 802A is really Longwood Elementary School,
No, it's Longwood Rec Center.
Longwood Rec Center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so Greenwood is going to have the 2260, not 2260 plus 1965.
Yes.
Okay.
so Janet, can we make a note to clean that up on our chart
Yes.
that we're gonna update and put on the website?
Yes. Do you want me to leave the old name and put the new name in parentheses? Or how do you all want it? I had it that way and I took it down saying that's
I
this.
put the new name in there.
Just put the new name.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
All right. I'll put the new names.
Get them up. All right. Any more question? Go on.
So we had 0818 Sherwood Elementary School, 1,253.
Yes.
Okay. So
Can-
those
can-
being moved to Sherwood Elementary School.
Can you help us with that in the same fashion? It looks like 807A is no longer at Sherwood Elementary School. It's now at Ross Body, right?
Yes. And I'll.
And then,
I'm going to pick.
and 807C is going to Sherwood High School. So is the 1253 all of the voters at Sherwood Elementary School, or are there others voting at Sherwood Elementary School?
All that's at Sherwood Elementary School is 1253.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more question? Go on, David. Kevin.
0902 Gaithersburg High School, 4,585 voters. Any questions, comments, concerns about 0902?
What is the change there?
Portion of it got cut off. Yeah, if you look to 930, portion of Gaithersburg High School lost 6 voters. So this is the new boundary.
So it's the same precinct, but
We lost 6 votes.
I see Rosemont Elementary for 902 on the website.
yeah, when you go on the website, that's what it says as the polling place. Is that a mistake?
Yes. I'll have to look.
Well, or is that 0902? Is there, no, that says 0902B, and it definitely has Rosemont Elementary marked.
I'm looking at 21. I'll look and I'll fix it if it's wrong.
Okay.
Well, can you, if there are 4,585 voters in an elementary school, please come back to us.
No, that's Gaithersburg.
That's a high school.
That's a high school.
Okay, thank you.
Put my maps. It was late.
0905, 2,071 voters at Montgomery Village Middle School. Any questions about 0905? The next is 0910, 527 voters at Washington Grove Elementary School. Could we just not, were we not able to put them in a different location, combine them?
I think we do have the other portion of 910 going back in with them.
Okay, so it's not,
943.
So where is 910B?
It's.
I see. It's 932C.
It's
no, it's
943.
943. It's a new
943.
precinct. It was divided by congressional, I think.
All right, I'm a little confused then. I see Washington, oh, I see. We're talking about the elementary school and then there's the town hall.
Yes.
So,
Right.
okay, so the Washington Grove Elementary School is 910A and then it's also 943.
Right, and they're gonna stay at Washington Grove Elementary School, both sections.
So that's 308, so it's 835 voters.
Will there be any voters at the town hall?
Yes. 932C.
Oh, I see. Okay, 932C. I see. My mistake. 419. Okay.
so the next is 912, 1,966 Watkins Mill High School. Any questions? Any questions about 912?
No question. Go on.
Okay, the next is 916 WSSC Gaithersburg Depot. It looks like they're getting 103 voters from 924.
What kind of room do they have there?
They call it an all-purpose room. And
Is it a former school or something?
I don't believe it was a school at one time. I'd have to look into the history. But in that building, WSSC calls that their all-purpose room. Maybe you could call it a meeting room now that it's a business, but
Right,
always been dubbed the all-purpose room.
okay. But basically, there's 103 voters that were moved from 924, the other portion of 924 into 916.
Right.
And David, my recollection is that it's a major training area for WSSC.
Okay, thank you.
It's where they do a lot of their training.
Okay, next.
920 looks like there's some voters from 932, 44 voters, and 932D, 3 voters. Washington Grove Town Hall are all being moved into Gaithersburg Middle School for a total of 2,227 voters.
Question? No question, Kevin.
Okay. The next is 0924 St. Rosalima Parish Center, 2,168 voters. Any questions about 0924?
Nope. No question.
Okay. So the next is 0931, 3,609 voters at Rosemont Elementary School. And it looks like from 0902, 6 voters that used to vote at Gaithersburg High School are going to be voting at Rosemont Elementary School for a total of 3,615 voters.
Can you show us, because I'm not sure if the map does, where 0931 is in relation to Rosemont?
Well, I see it now. It's northwest of the precinct.
You see it where?
It's out of the precinct. It's
No. What I'm saying is I went to the, oh, I see. Okay. It's in the corner of the, I see it now. So it's, oh, I see. And 931 is essentially in King Farm.
Yeah.
Okay. Question? No question, Kevin.
Is this a newer school?
Rosemont, no.
No.
Are you referring to Rosemont Elementary?
Yes.
No, it is not a newer school.
Seems like a lot of voters for an old elementary school. I'm not familiar with it though, but
Are there any schools in King Farm yet?
I don't
Uh,
think so.
Not yet, but it's slated. I don't know if it is on the CIP, but there is going to be a school there.
You know,
Have we
they've been saying that for 20 years.
Have we used this one before?
Yes, Rosemont has been on as hosted for, I can't tell you how long, but for a very long time.
And we've had this many voters?
Yes, this number is what voted there in 2018, or close to this number. It might have fluctuated one way or the other, but these voters have been voting at Rosemont.
Okay. Any other question? Go on.
So 0932 is 419 voters at Washington Grove Town Hall. Any questions about that?
Yeah, why did you move 932A and D to Gaithersburg High, I guess, from the town hall?
Legislative, they changed.
Oh, they're different?
Yes, they're different.
933, 1,487 voters at Summit Hall Elementary School.
Kevin, I don't have a concern with 933, but can we go back to 931 for a moment?
Sure.
931 in 2018 was listed with a peak wait time that was more than 30 minutes. So, which does suggest that the numbers are something to be concerned about. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that we not move I mean, obviously the 6 voters is not going to make the difference.
Right.
But could we have a discussion at our next regular board meeting about what can be done to address the precincts that had long wait times in 2018? Because clearly we have, we're talking right now about having a precinct at Washington Grove Town Hall of 419 people. And we're talking about having a precinct at Rosemont Elementary School of 3,615. I want to at least make sure that the larger precincts are appropriately resourced so that voters don't have to wait.
May I add something? I'm looking at the numbers for 2017 at Rosemont, 931. We've decreased the number of voters. There are in 18 that you were concerned about wait time. They were serving 3,793 voters. They're going to be serving less voters, about 150, 160 less voters this time than they were in 18.
Is that because of redistricting?
I don't know, but I'm looking at the registered voters in 2018 versus what we're looking at right now.
No, that was just a trick.
I'm sorry, Janet, I couldn't hear you.
No, that's just people moving around and it just decreased.
Okay. Well, I don't know if my question should be addressed to Madam President or to the staff, but we have a number of situations where obviously we had some precincts that had it far worse than those that were in the 30 to 60 minute category. We had the precincts that had more than 60 minutes of peak wait time. And remember, we got a number of different resources and things that were done, but we haven't really implemented them because 2020 was not a precinct-based election. And I'm just hoping that we can talk about this soon, because if it turns out that, they need either extra equipment or extra people, we should be adjusting to make sure that our voters aren't waiting longer than they should be. And certainly that we want to be, fair for each precinct compared to each other. A 3,600, or even if it's less than that, but at 3,600 voter precinct at an elementary school is a pretty high number.
We will look what we can do, David. You
Well,
always-
Naheed, what I'm asking is whether we can schedule addressing wait times as an agenda item for our May meeting.
The staff are not ready yet.
Can't do the allocation until we get the precinct boundaries. That's our issue.
Did you hear what she said?
On these boundaries, and then because I
Well,
started,
when can we have that conversation that would be soon enough to put resources where they need to be before the July 19th primary? Because what I don't want to do is say, oh, we'll do it in June and then be told that June is too late.
no, we'll be doing it before June, but we'll be doing the allocation. We have preliminary, but we're gonna have to redo it on moving lines and adding. We have more than enough. Our problems, some locations may not have the electricity to handle the amount of equipment we want to put there. That might be an issue, and we need to go look at some of these rooms.
So when would be a time that we can have that conversation before it's too late to make changes?
We will start preparing equipment in probably June. No, we're not gonna have the ballots. We won't start preparing equipment until June. Let me look at it and see if we can get all this into individual. I can start the allocation revisions and see if we can discuss it at the May 16th meeting.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Maybe even just a preliminary discussion.
Right.
right.
Okay, so in the interest of time, because it's really the same issue.
Kevin, can I go back to 931, please?
Sure.
You have to cross over 370 to get to Rosemont Elementary School. It's 370. Yeah, you gotta do that. I have two questions. Do we have voters at College Gardens Elementary School?
Yes,
How many, do you know how many voters are there?
we can check.
Okay, but meantime, I looked on here. I have no idea what this is, but there's a King Farm Assembly in the middle of the precinct. It's called, where is it called? King Farm Assembly, something like that.
We looked at College Gardens. College Gardens has a large population already.
Okay.
Is there no place within King Farm that can handle
Only
voting?
This King Farm Assembly, it says here.
No, I'm asking Chris.
Yeah.
I have been over there different times and visited some things. I haven't looked into this King's Farm Assembly.
Citizens Assembly, yeah, is what it is. It's like a town hall type of homeowners association.
You have any idea how large it is, Alan?
Never been there. I just found it.
And Alan, are you saying that 370 is on this map, like just where the district boundaries are? It looks like where
You
the
have to cross
legislative and
over
the congressional,
370.
that's 370?
You have to cross over 370 to get from King Farm to Rosemont Elementary.
Yeah, that worries me.
I mean, you can cross over Goody if you had to, but 370, you're all driving.
Where do the voters on the other side of Redland Boulevard vote? Oh, they're a different election district. Is that the problem?
Rockville has open election. in that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Well, we were looking at the location, the King's Farm Assembly. And it's an older building. is basically for events and parties. And Rockville has held one of their polling places in the location. And we're familiar with the room. The room is small.
Well, I guess we're back to the question about the size of the room versus being in precinct. Just like we were before. When Rockville does its election, is it the same voters?
Some of them would be.
I mean, I realize that there may not be as many voters.
Yeah, I'm just saying some of them because of the way they divide their districts.
And Rockville is not one of the cities that has non-citizens voting, I don't believe.
No, they
No,
don't.
no.
The room is approximately 1,200 square feet. Lisa is helping us look some of these locations up.
No, it's not large enough.
So, where do the voters on the other side of Redland Boulevard vote?
On the map.
It looks like it's 414.
That's College Gardens.
College Gardens is now populated.
How populated?
We've got 3,863 voters.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Okay. Any other?
It's not okay, Nahid. Crossing 370 is a big deal.
Okay, what-
The King Farm Assembly Club Room has hosted a variety of functions, including baby showers, graduation parties, wedding receptions, community fundraisers.
Yeah, but Alan, they said it was 1,200 square feet.
Okay,
you
I
can
see
have
that.
a
Okay,
small wedding there, but it's different.
okay.
You're not gonna use it.
Is there anything else that's adjacent that doesn't require crossing 370? Does the city of Gaithersburg have anything closer than Rosemont Elementary or anything that doesn't require crossing 370?
They're checking.
Okay.
The county health department on West Goody.
I don't think you can cross 370. You would have to cross on the sidewalk under 370.
Oh, right, right.
You can't cross 370, so you would be going under 370.
Well, is it under or is it over?
There's a bridge. 370 crosses over 355, so you have to go under 370 to walk under that bridge. So here's Rosemont Elementary School, and 370 goes over. So here's
So it looks like you walk down 355 and it goes over. It goes over or it goes under 370?
Under 370.
under 370.
Okay,
This is a walk,
I don't see a better option.
right?
So
Yeah.
just to move things along here, 0942, 0943, 0944, 0945, and 0946 are all new precincts that will be consolidated.
Wow. So do we have consolidated numbers for the places that they're going?
They're actually going back to the original precinct we're in. They were carved out because of the congressional or legislative lines. So we're just putting them back in the same precinct.
Janet, can you go ahead and share the map?
Which one? They all got different maps. This is not one that's all together. They're all different.
And they're different ballot styles, correct, Janet?
Yes, because the congressional or legislative line carved out little
Mhm.
it divided it in half.
Mm, mm.
30A and 944, it practically divided it in half. So it's back up to 2,600 voters at Summit Hall Elementary School. Washington Grove, it divided it in half. So I think we had 300 and something on the other side of 500.
But these individuals have been voting there. In other words, if it's consolidated and they have a different ballot style, but the 1,096 individuals have been voting at Watkins Mill High School, correct?
And we're sending them back. Except for, I think 905 actually voted at Gatesburg. 905A, and because it took a little portion of 905A and made it the same ballot style as 942, we had to move it over there. We had nowhere else to put them. And it wasn't that many voters.
So how many total voters at Watkins Mill High School?
1,006.
About 3,000?
About 3,000, close.
Okay, and then how many at Montgomery Village Middle School? We're adding 382. Actually, that one was not hugely large, as I recall.
Right, that was the one you all asked us to move back. Don't put it in Strawberry Knolls, to put it back in 905.
Right. I remember now. Okay.
Any questions about 42, 43, 44, 45, 46?
No question, go on.
Okay. 1201 Damascus Elementary School, 2,033 voters. Any questions about that one?
No.
No,
1205, 3,185 voters at Damascus High School. We're going to be adding from 1201 to 207 voters for a grand total of 3,392 voters. Okay, any questions about that one?
no question, go on.
1206 Laytonsville Elementary School, 299 voters. It's going to be a consolidated precinct.
Okay,
And this was the one where David was asking why we had divided out the 600. Laytonsville, by adding those 300 in, creates a larger number at Laytonsville. So we kept the 600 separate and sent them up to the library, to the senior center.
Okay.
question,
Next is 1327, 2,811 voters at Albert Einstein High School. Looks like that was necessitated by a boundary change.
yeah,
It was from District 18. They asked us to 27 and 40 were crossing over Connecticut, and they asked us to move both sides so that one stays on one side and one stays on the other side of Connecticut. And it made sense, so we did.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. That's my neighborhood.
Next
So
is 1328, 1,906 voters at Wheaton High School. Looks like it's a grand total of 4,828 voters that are being moved in from 1330. Any questions about that?
No, no question. Go ahead.
Okay, 1334, Kensington Town Hall, 2,248, and it looks like we're adding 249 from Rockview Elementary School, the lower southern portion.
That's Kengar.
Yeah, that's the, change that was requested because of the legislative change. The Board of Elections was changed so that we can move
The
that.
Board of
section.
Education boundary. was
I mean, the Board of Education, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, No
Okay,
more. go on, no.
1340, 2,168 voters at Rockview Elementary School.
Consolidating from 1327, all on the west side of Connecticut Avenue now.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Right. Okay,
1345, 1,699 voters at Brookhaven Elementary School. The voters are being moved from 1370 into the precinct.
Yes,
And what are you moving in? 210 voters, Janet? Is that the deal?
yes.
Mhm.
So 1,909 voters will be voting at that elementary school.
Yes, and eliminating a ballot stop.
Oh, good.
Okay, and what's the last one? 1361. It looks like there are 5,379 voters voting at Blake High School. Is that correct?
Yep, so it'd be 5,380. It's only one voter left at 1360.
So we have one voter in 1360.
It used to be 40
We can
something.
tell how that voter's going to vote.
My word.
It used
Okay.
to be
Don't
something.
lose the fact that we have 5,379 voters at Blake.
Yeah,
That's a
seriously.
huge,
Yeah.
that's
Is
a
that-
huge precinct.
Is that our upper limit so far of voters, voter count?
I think Blake has the most out of anybody.
Blake and Kennedy keep going back and forth to be,
Okay,
Are there any
Well-
other options to make it smaller? I mean, we literally have precincts that have less than 1,000, and then we have Blake with almost 5,400.
Chris is seriously looking, hold on.
and David, do you have the wait times on that? Didn't you have a chart?
I do. Let me find it. Thank you for asking. The precinct is 1361, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What a-
Because if it doesn't look like trouble, we'll live with it.
It's,
Hold on. Come in.
what color is that? It appears to be less than 30 minutes in 2018 general election.
Okay, that's not bad.
Kennedy was not. Kennedy was over 30 minutes.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
but-
good staff work at Blake.
Chris
Yeah,
is waiting. Chris, go ahead.
I looked and when I looked at the boundaries, to the west, we're bound by Leisure World, so we can't look
Oh,
anything that way. And 1349 south of there is populated. And then we go east, we get into another election district where we're bound pretty much in that area, I think. We would have to look around for something private
Yeah.
if we have.
No,
opportunity.
thanks, Chris. I'm reassured by the fact that checking the wait time doesn't show a problem.
Do we have the number though of voters in 2018? Was it roughly the
Oh.
same? Has there been any sort of increase or decrease?
Janet's looking that up for you, Elise.
I'm looking up the number of registered voters from the actual turnout. It was 3,334.
I'm sorry, that's how many turned out, or that's how many were
No, that's
registered?
How many were registered? I was looking at the turnout report. And
So
for
there's
the-
2,000 more voters now than there were then?
Yes, in the
Oh,
primary,
boy.
they only had a 19.9% turnout in the primary. Let me look at the general.
Okay.
And they had 31% vote on election day in the general.
So they had
Okay.
31% of 3,000 voters and now they have 2,000 more.
And they
Let's
had
get started. Drive safely. In 800 feet, turn right on Haverhill Drive.
And then, and for early voting, they had a 23% turnout for the general.
I'm sorry, was that in 2018?
Yes, oh, this is 2018. 2018 general.
Okay. So is it just a lot of new development there that added 2,000 voters? I mean, did the boundary, it sounds like we only added one voter by changing a boundary.
Right. Allison might be better able to answer that. I think she's over that way.
You're on mute, Allison.
And I had to step away for just a second. Can you just tell me again which site we're talking about?
We're talking about
Blake.
Blake High School.
High school.
And what's the question about, Blake?
They have 2,000 more registered voters in this year than in 2018. And it's over 5,000, 5,380. The wait times in 2018 were less than 30 minutes, but it was 2,000 less voters. So,
I'm trying to figure out what the 2,000 more voters is.
Is there a big development that's occurred over that way?
No? I can't think of one, no.
how did they get 2,000 more voters?
Let me check.
I have to look at that.
4 years.
Janet, maybe you want to recheck the numbers.
Yeah, let me check our website and make sure that number is
Yeah.
correct. Maybe it's a typo.
There was a lot of interest in the 2020 election, but I'm not sure there was 2,000
Yeah.
voters worth in that precinct.
Nope. I took it straight from the report in March, 5,379 voters.
This could be a problem in the general.
Well, perhaps we could put that one on our list to check into as well and try and figure out what happened, because if there really are 2,000 more voters than there were 4 years ago, then we have to think about something. I don't know whether it's, dividing it up or making, or whatever efforts we would take. I mean, that's a lot of voters.
And we were looking at the wait time for the primary.
No, for the
Correct.
general election of 2018. That would,
Okay.
all of the wait time data is from the general election of
Okay.
2018.
So we could probably go for the primary now. If there's an issue, reevaluate in time for the general. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Sound okay?
although
I mean,
the
hope for
percentage
the
of,
best.
right, but the percentage of new voters is just so high that makes me a little, I mean, ordinarily I would agree with you, Diane. Because obviously the Greenwich World primaries are the least of our worries, but
Right.
Let's check on that number and see
Yeah.
there's the backstory there that I'm just not grasping. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
Thanks.
So on the sort of the to-do list, actually, that we made some progress here today, because I think
Mhm.
really the only things that remain are 0407, 0437, 0440, 427, 443, looking at the voting at Rocking Horse, their board needs to make a decision on 0506 because White Oak is not going to be available. Looks like Jackson Road Elementary is going to have to be used for the primary, but we'll have to decide on whether to switch back to White Oak for the general. And then 1361, how we ended up with 2,000 extra people.
Right.
Okay, Kevin, I have to correct that. I'm looking on our website. The report I was looking at said 3,000. We actually had 5,319 voters at the close of registration for the 2018 general at Blake.
That wasn't not a consolidation, but didn't we temporarily move something there maybe?
No,
No.
Blake has always been a standalone.
Okay.
It's been
So
scheduled.
what you're saying is that the number from 4 years ago is roughly the same as the number now?
Yes.
And it was just, we were looking in the wrong place or whatever.
Just looking at the wrong number.
Good. So then the important thing is we have under a 30-minute wait time with the number we now all understand, and we can move ahead.
We
Right,
just have to make sure that we do whatever we did 4 years ago to keep it going this time.
okay. we do.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I know that today we're focused on precinct boundaries, but we do have a number of precincts where the polling places are under construction. When will be our opportunity? And I realize that the staff can only do so many things and they were dependent on the school system. But when will be our opportunity to hear about that? Because I did hear about 13-7 at Woodland Elementary School today from Delegate Shetty. She was asking me, she says it's apparently leveled at this point, and the voters there are asking where they're going to be voting.
What's the location again, Mr. Naaman?
13-7, it's Woodland Elementary. I think that's one that we've talked about before.
Oh, that's
And I think, isn't that the one that there was a religious institution that was in the neighborhood?
That's
That,
correct. We have a lease agreement with the Eman Center on Georgia Avenue.
okay. And so we just haven't announced that yet because we haven't sent out our cards yet that tells people where their voting place is going to be.
Correct. I had the same kind of calls, Mr. Naaman, and when I do, we explain that we're aware it's a
Okay.
building under construction and that we have a new polling place for them. And then I'll give them the Eman Center's address.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so there still is this issue with these polling places in 04. So when would the board like to reconvene to make a final decision on those polling places?
Hold on. One is the deadline. Just, I'm asking Janet, one is
Need it on Wednesday.
she need them by Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, which will be,
I mean, if what they agreed to, if we can move forward with that, if they are voting on it and say it's okay, we can start. But we got to proof these like 3 or 4 times because we're generating ballots and we definitely don't want it to be wrong.
did you hear what she said?
Yes.
So-
I'm fine with voting on the other ones if other people are. Is the deadline still Wednesday if you start on the others, or does that give us any extra time?
No, still the deadline is 27.
Okay.
But we'll make it easier if we vote those which we agree, right?
We list the ones we don't agree with on.
You want to list
I think Kevin just did.
Kevin did.
Kevin has the list.
I think it's basically, it's the White Oak precinct that's 5-6. It's the Twin Brook area precincts that he labeled all of them. And then I guess Blake is no longer on that list because we figured out what the problem was there.
Right,
So
Okay.
it's just those,
just very few.
yeah, it's just those 2 areas.
Do you want us to vote on the rest of them, which we agree?
Hold on.
Okay, then let's, Kevin, let's vote to those which we agree. At least they can have something.
Well, so why doesn't someone make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation with the exception of 0407, 0437, 0440, 427, 443. And then the board also wants to defer action on 0506, which is White Oak, but is not available for the primary, but would be available for the general.
Okay, do I
Oh,
have,
I move, we accept, we
Okay,
vote for the locations Kevin listed and take other exceptions as Kevin just listed.
okay, I'll second.
me second. Any
If I,
other
if I understand the motion, what you're saying is that you are approving all of the staff recommendations except for the ones that Kevin listed.
Yes,
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lisa got it. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No, of course, okay, we have that. So how about then we have to meet Wednesday, the 27th, I believe.
How about Wednesday at 2 o'clock?
Can't,
No, this is not good for,
That's too early. I could meet later.
what time do you guys want? Because they're working. When is the good time? Just a second.
If we gave y'all one more day, would that help? Because it'll help us.
When do you want to meet?
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
She's
I've
giving
got-
us one more day.
Thursday?
Okay, Thursday, the
What time?
28th. That's my daughter's birthday. Okay.
Thursday after 2:30.
So after 2:30 means,
Works for me.
what is after 2:30?
What is after 2:30? Is it 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
Whatever works for other people.
yeah, I would have to do like 3 or 3:30 would be better for me.
Okay.
3:30 works for me.
Okay.
Fine.
Thursday,
Alan, what time?
I could do 3:30 on Thursday.
Okay. David,
That would work for me.
Kevin, are you available?
I have a scheduling conference with Judge Hollander at 4:30, but I also have an email from opposing counsel that he needs to reschedule the conference. So I should be fine at 3:30.
Okay.
Okay,
We will meet the 28th at 3:30 PM. Okay,
thank you.
Janet,
How about a motion to adjourn?
hold on. Janet has a question. Go ahead.
What are you all looking for us for these precincts? To find better location? What?
Kevin? Okay.
I think that for the Twin Brook area precincts, we would like to see if there's a way to accommodate the voters without crossing Veers Mill Road. And for the Rocking Horse voters, to see if there's a way to accommodate them closer to where they live. And sometime between now and Thursday, preferably Wednesday, from my perspective, I'd like to look at the room at Twin Brook Elementary School and see if it can handle, I think it's about 4,000 voters we're talking about. How many, I don't know how many voters we're talking about at the moment, but I'd like to see what the room looks like.
3,400. About
3,400?
Yes, good. So you don't
Okay.
have, to. Yes.
Well, we'll see. It's convenient enough that I could definitely go there. But the idea would be to have people be able to vote closer to home and not crossing major roadways if that's possible.
Okay, Janet, did you get it? Yep. Should we adjourn the meeting? Okay.
I move
Who
we
left?
adjourn.
Second,
Tommy, did I jump on you again?
that's okay.
I can second.
Okay. Lisa will make the decision. Who did it?
Yeah.
Those in favor?
I think we're both happy with the motion. Good.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, guys.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I have an exception today. Goodbye.